I didn't plan to speak to her that morning. Midway through my run, shoes ticking over wet asphalt, I saw my CEO jogging toward me. No heels, no corner office, just a hoodie, a ponytail, and the confident stride I knew from meetings. We locked eyes for a second too long. "Good morning, boss," I said before I could stop myself. She eased one earbud out and, almost smiling, whispered, "Hey, handsome," then drifted past like a neighborly hello. I stood under a street light, pretending to stretch while my pulse misfired. I didn't chase her. I didn't take a photo. I let the words settle like a spark and finished my loop knowing something had shifted. My name is Noah Bennett. I'm 23, an analyst a step above intern at Monroe & Lane, the consulting firm on the 32nd floor. I run before dawn because no one asks anything of me then. My father fixed machines. My mother stretched soup and kindness. I learned to make things last. Her name is Victoria Lane, 37. Calm voice, precise questions, the kind of leader who cools a room without raising her voice. I'd seen her turn noise into a plan with 3 sentences. I didn't expect her alone at sunrise or those 2 words aimed at me. I showered, shaved, put on my navy shirt, and decided to forget it. The office felt colder than usual. At 9:30, her door opened and the floor tightened the way it always does when she walks by. When she reached my row, she didn't look at me. I carried the weekly snapshot to her office before lunch. The glass reflected a thinner version of me trying to belong. She motioned me in without glancing up. I set the folder down. She flipped to page 3, the one I rebuilt at 2 a.m. "You fixed the churn assumptions," she said. Good, her eyes lifted. Exact, not unkind at all. "Rough morning runner," she added, almost amused. The floor tilted. "You remember," I said, and instantly regretted it. "Hard to forget someone who calls me boss between miles," she replied. "Send the revised deck by 4. And Noah, good work." I walked out, steady on the outside and nowhere near steady inside. The whisper wasn't a dream. It hung between us like faint perfume after an elevator closes. Still, whenever the elevator slid shut, I saw the hoodie, the shoes, the easy way she'd said it, as if handsome were weather. My plan never included crushes at work, especially not on the person who signs my reviews. But truth is furniture in a small room. You notice it even when you pretend you don't. Near 5, I stayed late to dodge the rush. The floor thinned. The bay outside our windows turned gold. I was about to shut down when her voice found me. "Walk with me," she said, casual as weather. We stepped onto the small balcony facing the water. She kept her gaze on the distance. "People are loud when they lack data," she said. "If anyone is loud to you, send them to me." I nodded, unsure my voice would work. "Yes, thank you." She let the moment breathe, then added lighter. "For the record, I do appreciate good mornings." She left me with that and the smell of rain again. By the time I reached my block, the sky was steel and the street lights blinked on. I told myself I wasn't in a story. Tomorrow would be spreadsheets and calls, nothing else. But when I lay down, my heartbeat kept the same count as my shoes on the pavement. And one sentence refused to leave, steady and quiet. A warning that wanted to be a promise. She said, "Hey, handsome," and I don't know what it changes. Only that it already has. I stared at the ceiling and counted breaths until the numbers blurred and a quiet certainty took shape. Nothing about tomorrow would feel the same. She called me at 4:17 on Thursday and changed my Friday. "Dinner tomorrow," she said, voice even. "Client from New York. Small table. I want you there." I agreed before fear could catch up. I was 23, an analyst with a thin title. She was 37 and ran the place. I told myself it was work. The restaurant sat above the harbor. Before the dinner, I changed my shirt twice and retied the same knot 3 times, telling myself it was just business. The hostess led me past clinking glass and low music. The room smelled of lemon and cedar. James wore a heavy watch and a salesman's grin. When the check came, she thanked him with the kind of smile that closes a conversation, and we left. She was there when I arrived, navy dress, hair loose. "You clean up well," she said. James, our client, arrived with a loud, careless confidence. We covered projections. I answered and watched him test her patience. He laughed too often and let his hand brush her sleeve. She stayed professional and a little farther away each time. It happened without a plan. When his hand drifted again, I leaned forward, set my palm over hers, and said lightly, "Honey, did you want the lemon tart?" Her eyes flicked to mine. Surprise, then relief, then a warmth I felt in my ribs. "No, sweetheart," she said, resting her other hand over mine. "I'm fine." James's volume fell. His hands found safer places outside the water-held city lights. "Quick thinking," she said. "Thank you." I shrugged, suddenly shy about the hand that had seemed steady. "He shouldn't make you do the extra work of dodging him," I said. "You shouldn't have to do that alone. People assume I don't need help," she said. "Sometimes I forget I'm allowed to accept it." We walked the boardwalk. She asked about my family. I told her about my dad's toolbox and my mom's texts. She runs at dawn because the city is quieter than her inbox. And moving forward feels like choosing your life. The distance between us thinned at a bench. She looped her hair back. "Most people try to impress my title." She said, "You tried to protect my time." I said I did what the situation asked. "You gave me permission to ignore him." She said, "That matters." When we reached her car, she stopped with the door half open. "You handled yourself well," she said. "And you handled me with respect." "I'm better at numbers than at pretending," I said. "You pretended for the right reason." She leaned in and kissed my cheek. More gratitude than spark, and stepped back. "One more thing," she added softer. "When it's just us, call me Victoria." The name sat between us. I nodded. She drove off. I stayed under the sodium light. On the train, I replayed her voice. "Victoria, when it's just us." The phrase opened a door I had pretended wasn't there. I didn't know what was on the other side, only that I had already stepped through. At my stop, the wind moved leaves. I set the borrowed confidence down. Sleep didn't come quickly. I kept seeing her hand over mine and hearing that careful sweetheart. By 2 a.m., I admitted what I'd filed under maybe. This wasn't a crush on a corner office. It was a beginning, and beginnings have costs. One rule before sleep: respect first, whatever it costs. If that meant distance, I would hold it. If that meant silence, I would keep it. When the alarm cut through the dark and morning went gray, I understood that a single sentence had redrawn my map. "When it's just us, call me Victoria." I heard it again, and the day answered. By Monday, the hallways felt colder, as if the air conditioning had learned our names. I told myself the dinner was only business, but rumors travel faster than numbers. Ryan started them the way he starts small fires. A half smile at the elevator, a question dressed as concern, a joke about the fast lane, kept my head down. Victoria did too. In meetings, she was steady and precise. Yet in the pause between her sentences, I felt the echo of Friday, the press of her hand on mine, the soft thank you when I gave her an exit, the way she said I should call her Victoria when it was just us. By Wednesday, the story had grown legs. A calendar overlap became a secret date. A ride down 20 floors turned into proof. Sophie from HR found me by the coffee machine, slid a packet of almonds across the counter like a treaty, and said I looked like someone out running noise. I said I was fine. I wasn't. Ryan leaned on the wall of my cubicle and asked how the corner office looked from the outside. I asked if he needed something work-related. He laughed as if I'd confirmed the punchline and wandered off to a new audience. I finished my reports early and stayed late to avoid corridors. The night view made the bay look honest. I tried to let clean work be my shield. Friday was the quarterly mixer. All string lights and careful music and people holding cups like props. I lasted 20 minutes. Ryan arrived with 2 colleagues and a grin that wanted witnesses. "Kid," he said, "how's life as the executive souvenir?" He climbed my neck. Sophie appeared at my elbow with sparkling water and did not move. I told him I was here because I did the work. He winked past me. "Sure, must be nice to be graded on a curve." I walked out before I said something I'd have to carry for months. The loading dock smelled like rain and cardboard. Beyond the fence, the water held the city lights like coins. I stood with my hands in my pockets and counted back from 50. Footsteps came. I expected Sophie. It was Victoria. A coat over a dark dress. Hair loose in the wind. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have shut that down. You can't control every mouth." I said, "I can control what I allow in my company." She answered, "And what I protect." She didn't step away. She closed the space and put her arms around me. It was a steady public hug. No heat, all certainty, and the knot under my ribs loosened as if someone had cut a rope. Ryan rounded the corner with his pair of shadows and stalled when he saw us. Victoria didn't move. "If humiliating my staff is your idea of leadership," she said voice level, "find a new hobby. Go back inside now." He tried a laugh and failed. The shadows retreated. He followed, suddenly smaller. She let me go slowly, as if returning something fragile. "Thank you," I said, not sure which part one meant. "For the record," she replied. "You earned your place. I won't let anyone reduce that to a headline." We listened to the muffled music and the hum of a city pretending not to stare. "Tomorrow the board will ask questions," she added. "They will ask them of me, not you." I nodded. "I'll answer what is mine," she said, then softer. "And protect what is not." She touched my sleeve once and went back in. Faces found their cups when I followed. Sophie gave me a small nod that felt like a bridge. "On my way out," she said, "some of us still prefer decency," and told me to get home safe. I walked through a sky that couldn't decide between mist and clear. Tie loosened, thoughts painfully awake. I replayed the hug because it was the first time anyone had stood between me and a rumor with their own name. It wasn't romance. It was ballast. Near midnight, my phone buzzed. The board review moved up. Room changed. The attendee list trimmed. I wasn't on it, but agendas have gravity. I slept in pieces. Before dawn, I gave up and ran the long route. The park was empty. The river smelled like cedar and metal. My breath found a rhythm that felt like survival. In the lobby later, Ryan was already performing. "Heard the big day got bigger," he said. "Must be nice to have someone hold the door." I passed him without feeding the fire, opened my model, and polished numbers until they showed their math. At 9:40, a message from Victoria appeared. "Good work. Send to finance. Also, hold your ground." 2 more words after a dash. "Proud of you." No signature, no title, just the line I needed. I don't know what the board will decide. I know what I decided on the loading dock to be worth the defense I was given. If that means patience, I will wait. If it means distance, I will keep it. When she put her arms around me under rattling lights, I understood the shape of our fight. It isn't against policy or gossip or even Ryan, but against the smallness that says you can't be both excellent and human. I am 23. She is 37. We run before dawn because moving forward is sometimes the only honest way to stand still. On Monday, the room will be colder. I'll bring the work and I'll hold my ground. By Tuesday, the building seemed to listen. The board moved its review to noon. I wasn't invited mercy, but agendas touch everyone they name. I shipped my deck and watched the hour crawl. Ryan prowled with a weatherman grin. At 11:58, Victoria crossed the hall with a folder. She didn't look at me. Somehow that steadied me more than a smile. At 12, the glass doors closed. I worked, or pretended to. At 1:40 she returned, composed in the way that costs. Her message, "Stay put, we'll talk after 5. The afternoon blurred. At 5:12, she stood in my doorway. "Walk with me." The conference room faced rain. "They asked if I'd compromise policy," she said. I told them no. They asked if I'd manage perception. I told them yes. Then they asked what price I'd pay to keep this steady. She set the folder down. "I won't let you be a price. Tell me what you need." I managed. "I need you safe," she said. "I need your work clean and your name out of rooms that use names as weapons. And I need to remove the lever they think they have." If I leave, her eyes met mine. "If you resign, they lose the story they're selling. You become the adult who refused a false ladder. I keep the company out of the tabloids. You keep your dignity." It was policy language wrapped around a breaking heart. If I stay, I make your work heavier. I said, if I go, I make your day quieter. If you go, my days go quiet and my nights go loud. She said, I want you here. I also want you whole. I'll write the letter tonight. Make it short, she said. No reasons. Let them invent their own. That's what they do best. She faced the window. I hate that I'm saying this, she added. The cleanest path costs the most. I'm not running, I said. I'm choosing, she turned. You were never running. You made me less alone in rooms designed to isolate me. I wrote the letter at my desk. 2 sentences, a date, my name. I printed it because ink feels like decision. I slid my badge off and placed it beside the keyboard, teaching my hand leaving. Sophie saw the envelope and squeezed my wrist. Ryan watched from the corner, hungry for a story he could sell. I gave him nothing. Victoria waited in her office. I handed her the paper. She took my hand with both of hers. If this is the end of the job, she said, it isn't the end of the respect. You were the best part of too many days. You taught me what steady looks like. She read it, signed the acceptance, slid it back. I'm not walking you out, she said. You're not a risk. You're a person I'll miss. I left the badge on her desk. It looked small, like a coin on a map. In the lobby, the guard nodded, the cordial one. Outside, the rain was clean. I walked to the bus without an umbrella and let the weather cool me. The city felt larger without the elevator code in my pocket. At home, I filed the copy in a drawer and said I'd be fine. Near midnight, my phone lit once from her. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm proud. 3 truths, no punctuation. I typed a dozen replies, erased them, and sent 1 word. Always. Then I set the phone down and listened. In the quiet, I noticed something strange. I didn't feel lost. I felt emptied and aligned, as if a door closed, and my lungs finally understood their job. Morning would come. Miles would wait. Whatever this was, whatever it might still become, deserved air and time. Morning would come and I would lace my shoes and run the long route. I would carry no badge and no shortcut, only the simple dignity of work done right, the memory of her hands holding mine, and the quiet promise that not all distances are forever again. 6 months later, I turned the park corner and saw her again. Same steady stride, ponytail catching light. No boardroom, just a woman running toward morning. I slowed without meaning to. She noticed, slid 1 earbud out, and smiled like she had expected me. Hey, handsome, she whispered as if finishing a sentence we'd paused in the rain. I laughed breathless. We fell into an easy pace. The gravel ticked under our shoes. For a minute, we were only motion. I heard you landed on your feet, she said. I did, I answered. Smaller, firm, fewer floors, more sunlight. She nodded. I stepped away from the board 2 months ago. Sold a chunk, kept my name, opened something new. No shareholders, no calendar traps. I remembered what choosing felt like. We ran past the pier and slowed. She held out a paper cup. I brought a spare, she said. You always forget to eat after long routes. The coffee was hot and familiar. We sat on a bench facing the water. Her cheeks were flushed. A strand of hair had escaped and made her look human. Thank you for the clean ending, she said. It protected things I needed to protect. It broke something I wanted to keep. I said, and I'd still do it again. We sat with that. I have a proposal, she said, not casual. The new company is lean. I need a builder, not a passenger. Someone who tells me no when I'm wrong and yes when it's hard. Title partner. Terms clear. Ours honest. Caveat. We talk about us before we sign anything. My answer is yes to clear. I said yes to honest. She smiled. And the caveat? Breakfast first. I said then the talk, then the paperwork. She laughed. Relieved. Breakfast. She agreed. No contracts under the napkins. We walked to the cafe and took a table. I realized how much I had missed talking with both of us unafraid. We covered practical things. Conflict rules, public boundaries, what we would never risk. If rumors came, we would name them and keep working. If either of us felt the room tilt, we would say so. Respect first. No secrets that turned one of us into a shield. And if it stopped being good, we would end with the same care we used to begin. When the plates were empty, she reached for my hand like a habit rediscovered. I don't need rescue, she said. I need company. You don't have to be brave alone, I said. She squeezed once, then leaned across the small distance and kissed me. A warm, quiet press that felt like a decision rather than a dare. No fireworks, just trust. We signed nothing that morning. We walked back through the brightening park and stood where we'd started. She tucked the loose strand behind her ear and set her palm on my chest. I'm free at 7 tomorrow, she said. For running and for whatever the day asks. I'll be there, I said. For miles, for meetings, for the truth. She laughed again. I watched her jog away, then turned toward home with a map that finally matched the streets. Later, when I opened my email, the offer weighted 2 pages. Fair numbers, clean lines, our boundaries written like guardrails. I signed. I sent one line before closing my laptop. Thank you for breakfast. Thank you for the second beginning. Even now, I keep the first coffee cup from that bench on my shelf. It reminds me that love is not a shortcut or a secret hallway. It's 2 people running beside each other, choosing and choosing again until the distance becomes the point and the morning belongs to both of you. Tomorrow at dawn.